I just love this movie so much, and obviously it builds so well to Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, which is my favorite movie of all time.
Yeah, I saw this movie with you, and if I had to describe the movie-going experience, I would call it the rise of the front of Pat's pants.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Nerd You're Looking For podcast, a weekly nerd culture podcast that discusses the culture through various segments. My name, of course, is Patrick Kuhn, alongside my co-host, as always, that Tyler Hunt. How's it going, man?
It's going pretty well. How are you?
Pretty tired. Had a long day at work, but you kind of have to count your blessings. I have not found a snake in my garage today, so, I mean, I did have to work 10 hours, but no snakes today.
10 whole hours? Oh, no.
Fuck you.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I typically work 10-hour days, so.
Oh, well, I didn't know that. I do not usually work 10 hours, and it was a crazy 10 hours.
Yeah, I'm sure it was.
All right. Good talking to you. Podcast over.
This is why we can't talk off the podcast, is because you told me why it was a crazy day before we started recording, but I guess for podcasting purposes, I should still act interested.
Yeah, you should just pretend.
Oh my God, dude. What was so crazy about work today?
Yeah, I'm not going to tell you now. All right. So if this is your first episode, I apologize. Now, we start off each episode by kind of checking in with each other. We call it what we're into. So Tyler, what are you into this week?
In a last-ditch effort to have something I was into this week, I went and saw the movie Criminal this morning.
Oh yeah, go for you.
Are you familiar with this movie? Because I will be completely honest, I didn't know anything about it going into it.
I didn't know anything about it until about a month ago when I first saw the first trailer for it.
Yeah.
And it looked really stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
See, I hadn't seen a trailer for it, and a guy at work, and I don't respect his opinion. I don't know why I listened to him, but he's like, on Monday of this week, he's like, yeah, I saw 2 movies over the weekend, Jungle Book and Criminal, and I liked them both. And I don't know why, but I was like, oh, maybe I'll go see Criminal and I'll be able to talk about it on the podcast. So I did go see it. And if you go to Ryan Reynolds' Twitter right now and you go through his timeline, like every other tweet's about Deadpool.
Yeah.
And like just, self-promotion, blah, blah, blah. Not a single tweet mentioning the movie Criminal that came out last Friday.
He doesn't seem like he's in it much from the trailer.
He is not. He is not in it much, but he is in it. So you would think like even one like tweet like, hey, Criminal's out this week, go see it. Nope. Like he's completely, it seems like separated himself from this movie. And once I saw it, I could tell why. First of all, it was weird that he was in another movie involving like the transplant of memories and stuff. So, I talked about Selfless last summer, and this movie's not anything like Selfless, but it still involves like mind transplant in a different way. So sure. I thought that was really weird that he was attached to this movie. I thought, so the IMDb synopsis for it is, in a last-ditch effort to stop a diabolical plot, a dead CIA operative's memories, secrets, and skills are implanted into a death row inmate, blah, blah, blah. So I thought that for sure Kevin Costner's memories were getting transplanted into Ryan Reynolds' body.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah. Nope. Other way around. Yeah. Other way around. I don't know, man. Just does not work. It's not really like, I don't know. So I was watching this movie and it's like, this feels like a 90s movie, but not like a good 90s movie, like Face Off or something.
So let me get this straight. You're saying Face Off isn't a good movie?
I'm saying, I don't even know if it's a 90s movie, but it felt like
Face Off is a 90s movie.
It felt like a cheap 90s crime thriller that was not Heat, but instead was bad.
So you're saying Face Off is bad because you're wrong. Face Off is amazing.
No, it really just didn't hold my interest. It's almost 2 hours long, which is way too long for a movie like this. Gary Oldman was in it, which really just depressed me the whole time because
he makes weird choices.
I really respect him as an actor, and there was no reason for him to be in it. Tommy Lee Jones is in it. Again, really sad that he's in it. The whole time I was just like, will Kevin Costner please just clear his throat? because he has he talks like he has this big ball of saliva in his throat, and it was really annoying. So obviously I'm not recommending this movie. I'd probably give it a 2.5 out of 5. I wouldn't even wait. If it was shorter, I would say give it a watch on Netflix or something, but it's just way too long and doesn't make a lot of sense. It's not great at all.
Yeah, Ryan Reynolds definitely doesn't have the best track record, and I was kind of hoping that Deadpool would kind of set him on a better path, and maybe he filmed this before Deadpool. You never really know. Things get pushed back and production problems and whatnot, so maybe this was in the pipeline long before Deadpool happened, and because the superhero movies, they do take a little bit longer, but they do get they don't get pushed back very often.
Yeah.
Like, as soon as they're done filming, it seems like they get post-production done really quickly, and they ship them out because they're going to be so popular.
Yeah.
Movies like this could have been in development for a while, and unfortunately it comes out right after Deadpool, well, a few months after Deadpool comes out, and he has this huge blockbuster on his hands, and people are talking about how he's reinvented his career and whatnot, and then the next movie is Criminal.
Yeah. I mean, either way, he filmed this movie before Deadpool hit its success. I'm sure it was just like to pay a mortgage or something.
For sure.
So I can see why he's distancing himself from it, because I would imagine Ryan Reynolds doesn't want to make movies like Selfless and Criminal going forward into his career. Now
I would hope not. Did you ever see The Voices?
No, but I want to, because you talked pretty highly of it.
Yeah, it's really good. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
I'll have to look that. Is it on Netflix?
I believe so.
I'll check it out. So what are you into, man?
I'm into two things, and I'll be real quick about both of them. The first thing that I want to talk about is I am officially done with Fear the Walking Dead.
I'm sorry.
No longer going to watch this show anymore. I'm generally not a huge fan of spin-offs to begin with. I feel like if you are good at developing characters in the original series, you don't necessarily need a spin-off because you fleshed these characters out really well in the first part of like the original series. But I wasn't crazy about the idea of spinning off The Walking Dead just because I have my problems with some aspects of that show to begin with. But I actually thought that they had an interesting spin-off idea because, as many of you probably already know, Rick was in the coma for a while, so you didn't really get the origin story for the zombie apocalypse in The Walking Dead. So I thought it was actually kind of a cool idea to give us that story, and I thought that he did it fairly well in the first season. I thought they introduced some interesting characters. I liked that it was in LA, so it's kind of all the way across the country, so you got to see different atmosphere and different types of people. So I appreciated that, but unfortunately, they kind of went right back into some of the stuff that I didn't like about The Walking Dead. Like, for real, especially in the second episode, it was pretty apparent that they were just kind of rehashing a lot of the same stuff. Like, two characters had pretty much exact conversation that characters have had on The Walking Dead. And I understand that they're different characters and they're going to go through a lot of the similar emotions, but this is also a TV show and it's also made for entertainment. And so as a viewer, I don't want to see the same conversation happen over again. I understand, like I said, that they're going to go through similar emotions, but just do it in a different way. Find a clever way to have them go through these same things. I just don't feel like they really thought this through. They had a really solid first season idea, and now they don't really know what they're doing. And I kind of joked on Twitter because I meant to live tweet this show like I did with The Walking Dead. I thoroughly enjoyed live tweeting about the last half of this last season. But unfortunately, I found myself not really tweeting that much because the show was fucking boring and there wasn't anything to tweet about. But I did make a joke how I felt like the characters in Fear the Walking Dead are stuck on a boat right now. And I just made the comparison that I feel like this boat is Fear the Walking Dead's farm. Because I thought that in the second season of The Walking Dead, they were stuck on the farm for way too long. And I feel like they're already, even though they're only 2 episodes into the boat arc, I feel like they're already on the boat for way too long. And it bums me out because I thought the show had some potential. Like I said, it was interesting to see that origin story. But unfortunately, I don't think they planned out the second season very well.
Yeah, I gave up on the show after the second episode of the first season.
Oh, really?
Not purposefully, just kind of like it got backed up, and then I'm not going to watch this, and kind of just decided against it because the first 2 episodes I really wasn't fond of, and nothing seems less interesting than these characters being stuck on a boat.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty glad that I stopped.
Yeah, for sure. It has potential, but there's just so much on right now, either on TV, Game of Thrones is about to start up again, or on just streaming. There's just so much good TV out there. And kind of what we've been talking about with comic books. That's more about saving money, but same thing. It's like I almost have to weed some stuff out, not just because there's so much great stuff out there. I don't want to waste my time on something that I don't really enjoy.
Oh, for sure.
So the next thing that I'm going to talk about, and I'll be real quick with this one because I'm pretty sure most of our listeners had never even heard of this show. And honestly, I never heard of this show until just recently. It's Andy Barker, PI. Have you ever heard of this?
No, but it's really weird. That's the name of somebody I went to high school with.
Oh, really?
But sorry, no.
I highly doubt it's about this that person. Like I said, I never heard about this show until a couple of weeks ago. Our friends over at the Obsessive Viewer did a themed episode about one season television wonders. Like just they discussed shows that only had one season, and Matt discussed two different Andy Richter shows. Andy Richter Controls the Universe, and this show Andy Barker, PI. Both sounded really interesting, but he made the point to point out that Andy Richter Controls the Universe was the better of the two shows. Unfortunately, I couldn't find that on any streaming site. It's only $20 on Amazon, so eventually I'll probably just bite the bullet and buy it on Amazon. But I was, however, able to find Andy Barker PI on Hulu. It's only 6 episodes. It's 22-minute episodes, a little bit longer on Hulu because I don't have the Tyler, no commercial kind of money. But I understand why it was canceled. It's very subtle, kind of dry humor, but I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really funny. The episodes are a little uneven. Some are a lot funnier than others, especially the second episode was fucking hilarious. From start to finish, it's a phenomenal episode of television, but the last couple episodes were not the best. So I kind of understand why it got canceled, but I loved that second episode. So I would definitely suggest watching this show just for the second episode. It's really, really funny.
What network was it on?
Honestly, I have no idea. Like I said, I just watched it on Hulu.
I remember Andy Richter Controls the Universe, and I remember watching a couple episodes of that. There was an episode that Conan's on.
I want to say that it was on NBC because it was created by Conan.
Okay.
And so that's when he was still on NBC.
I mean, Andy Richter Controls the Universe was on Fox. I don't know if there's any connection there, but I did like that show, so I don't know. I might check it on Hulu. It sounds like a very minimal commitment.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I think I busted out in a couple hours just because the way Matt talked about it, it sounded really interesting. And like I said, it was only 6 episodes, so it's not a huge commitment. But if you kind of like that very subtle, dry humor, I definitely suggest it because it's really funny. I'm looking forward to seeing Andy Richter Controls the Universe because I trust Matt's opinion. If he thinks it's a better show, and I liked Andy Barker PI, I'm sure I'll like it. Andy Richter Controls the Universe.
Awesome, man.
All right, so our next segment is just plainly called Comics. Tyler and I read a ton of comics each week, and we like to spotlight one or two an episode. So what'd you read this week, Tyler?
This was a pretty big week for me. I think I picked up 7 titles.
Yeah, it was a big week for me as well. I was going to pick up 7, but our local comic book shop was sold out of Extraordinary X-Men.
Did you get American Alien number 6?
That's actually what I'm going to talk about.
Okay. That's right, because you have a file, because I took the last American Alien number 6 off the shelf.
Oh, really?
Wednesday afternoon when I got off work.
Yeah.
So if you would have said no, they were out, I was going to kind of laugh a little bit, but I forgot you had a file, so you don't have to deal with those problems like I do.
No, I don't.
Anyways, 7 titles. I read one of them, only one of them since I bought them, and it was Black Widow number 2. I was really excited for this one because I enjoyed Black Widow 1 a lot. Like, I think a few episodes ago, I talked about that comic, actually. It was just a giant chase scene. It was beautiful, very well done. Told the entire story just through action set pieces, which was pretty cool. So Black Widow 2 kind of gets back to the narrative type of storytelling. It goes back before issue 1 and tells you why Natasha is doing what she's doing in issue 1, which, to refresh your memory, is stealing something and running from S.H.I.E.L.D. So basically, this organization, you don't know who it is. He wears a mask, but they end up kidnapping her and blackmailing her to steal these things from S.H.I.E.L.D. I really love this book. It really mixes the action and the narrative really well. I think Black Widow is an awesome character. I've only read a few of her comics, so most of what I knew about her I had got from the movies. And I gotta say, I don't think they're doing her justice in the films. Like, I love Scarlett Johansson and I love her in the movie she's been in, but the character that, I don't know, she's just so much more badass in the comic book to me. I think that they're really missing out there, and it just makes me really want to see a Black Widow movie that kind of explores her origin a little bit, because it's so dark, and you see a little bit of that in Ultron, but I think that they could really flesh that out
a little bit in the first Avengers too, when when she's talking to Loki. I wonder if that has anything to do with the fact that you have so many. I mean, she's really only ever in. Well, I guess she's in Captain America as well, but she's really up against all these for sure superheroes.
Yeah.
That have superpowers. Yeah. Not that she's not a superhero, but they have all these superpowers, and I think that majority of viewers want to see the Hulk and Captain America and Iron Man kind of go at it, and she kind of gets lost in the shuffle, much like Hawkeye gets lost in the shuffle.
Oh, for sure. That's why I think that she would do better in a movie on her own.
Yeah, for sure.
This book definitely touches on her past. Her past is kind of what she's being blackmailed with to do this for this organization, and this villain who I'm really hoping is Kraven, which sounds really crazy. I don't think it is, because he speaks with a Russian accent. But he has like a tiger and he's wearing a mask, and he kind of has like the mane like Kraven. And I'm like, oh, that better be Kraven, but he never takes the mask off. So that reminds me, I wanted to ask you, where is Kraven currently? Is he around in comics, or is he dead?
Honestly, I don't know. I'm quite a few issues behind on Amazing Spider-Man, and with everything that's gone on with Secret Wars, I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, I don't know what the last story arc he had was and where it left him, so I don't think he was
in any of Superior.
Okay. I mean, so it's probably been years since he's been in anything worthwhile.
Yeah, I don't remember him. And if he wasn't Superior, he may have been in issue 9 where they had that weird fight within Doc Ock's mind or whatever that was. Yeah. And he may have been in that issue, but I don't remember, because I know they brought back a lot of Spider-Man villains and a lot of Spider-Man characters in that particular issue, but I don't remember anything of note.
So I would doubt that it's him, but I thought that would be just like kind of a cool twist with this obscure villain from a different character, or a different hero. But I think that this comic's just going to keep getting better and better, and with it only being 2 issues in, I definitely recommend jumping on now.
Yeah, I probably won't. As much as you have raved about this book, I'm just reading so much right now, and she's not necessarily a character that I'm super hyped up about.
Yeah, I was kind of looking at my stack of stuff to read today, and I was like, I got to cut some stuff out, because whenever DC relaunches, I want to jump on quite a few of their books, because as much as I talk about being a DC fan, I honestly don't read a ton of DC comics in the New 52 run. So I'm probably going to have to cut some stuff out. I was thinking maybe like Doctor Strange.
Really? I thoroughly enjoy that book.
I don't know. I kind of have to trim some fat here and there, and I haven't decided where yet, but.
Okay, cool.
All right. That was off base, but, what comic did you read this week, man?
Well, like I said before, I'm going to talk about, Superman, American Alien #6. We've talked a lot about this miniseries in past episodes. It's a 7-part miniseries written by Max Landis. And basically, it's snapshots of Clark Kent's life, not necessarily as Superman, but kind of as he develops as Superman. The last issue, #5, you saw Clark finally take that leap, and he called himself Superman, and he has a costume now, and he's actually fighting super villains. Issue 6 skips ahead to Kent. He's been Superman for a while. Like, he's famous in Metropolis. He's famous around the world. The first 2/3 of this issue kind of is a little slow, kind of takes a step back, because there's a little bit of action in issue 5, and this one kind of takes a step back a little bit, but in the best way. Basically, 2 of Clark's old friends from Smallville, come to visit him in Metropolis, and they know that he's Superman, but really nobody else knows. And it's kind of Landis's excuse to kind of give a little bit more backstory, not necessarily backstory, but kind of answer some really big questions about Clark Kent and Superman. Kind of like, why does he do it? What does he want to get out of it? Why does he have the S? And they kind of tease the Justice League. His friend mentions that he can't do this forever on his own, that he might want to find some other people like him, and they kind of get into a bit of an argument. So I thoroughly enjoyed that aspect of it, just kind of explaining. You got to know more about Clark Kent as a person, more than just being Superman. So I like that. The last part of the issue, shit gets cray. And it sets up a really great finale. Like I said, this is the 7th part miniseries, so next month it will be ending, and I'm really enjoying it. As long as he doesn't screw the pooch on this last issue, Landis basically, as far as I'm concerned, did the impossible. He made a really interesting Superman story. I've thoroughly enjoyed this. I don't necessarily think that I'm going to be getting into Superman, like a regular Superman comic by any means, but I thoroughly enjoyed this story so far. And like I said, he would have to do something really crazy to kind of disappoint me at this point.
Yeah, I've been surprised that you like this so much since you're so vocal about your hatred for Superman. I'm actually a couple issues behind on it. I did pick up 6, like I said, so I am looking to get caught up.
Yeah, it's really great. I like it a lot.
All right, man, you ready for nerd news?
For sure.
So every week we talk about the big nerd stories that came up since the last time we spoke. So I got a few this week, nothing too crazy. One that I just saw actually while we were recording, so I'll start with that one.
Okay.
Michael Keaton is no longer in talks for Spider-Man Homecoming.
Yeah, that's kind of a bummer. Like I said, I think that he would do a really great job.
Yeah, I mean, it could be a negotiation tactic on his end or something. Like, I won't believe it until they announce who actually is going to play the villain. But that is a bit of a disappointment. I thought that would have been a cool mix in that movie.
For sure.
William Dafoe is joining Justice League. I don't know how much we can talk about it because they don't announce what character he's playing.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask.
They say he's a good guy, but he's probably like the president of the United States or some shit.
Yeah,
so,
probably something like.
So I don't really have an opinion on that, but not a lot of casting this week, so I threw it in there.
Okay, cool.
Yoga Hosers, I thought this was kind of a unique story. Well, not unique because it's happened to Kevin Smith so many times, but he posted that his new film Yoga Hosers has received a R rating because of a graffiti picture of male genitalia on the cover of a book.
Yeah.
And that's why they gave it a rated R rating. So he's going forth and whatever you have to do to protest that you meet in front of the MPAA. And I guess he's going to try to get it down to that PG-13. He's always said that this is more of like a kid's movie, like kind of with like a Gremlins feel. So not like necessarily a PG movie by any means, but more for a younger audience. So I don't know. It seems crazy that phallic drawing got this movie an R rating.
Yeah, obviously it's disappointing with everything that you see in movies. It's kind of disappointing that that's the reason why they gave him an R. And I wonder if it's just, at this point, his reputation.
Yeah, that could very well be it.
Has he ever lost a case? Because I know he's said that he's had to fight this fight before, and he's always won. And I feel like most of it has been without any kind of reshoots or any cuts.
Yeah, I bet. And it sounds like something minimal like that. I would imagine he's able to win, like a lot easier than probably some of the other fights that he's had with them. So I wouldn't be surprised if it gets overturned, but it just seems like a waste of energy to have to do that. Yeah. There's actually this documentary on Netflix, and I wish I knew I was going to bring it up because I would look at what it's called, but it kind of has to do with how films are rated and the politics behind it, and it's a pretty good watch. So, like I said, I wish I knew what it was called, but I don't remember. But it's on Netflix. Let's see. They're going to release Arkham City and Arkham Asylum, a remastered version for Xbox One HD.
Separate games, or is it going to be the HD collection?
It's like an HD collection. There's supposed to be some new stuff on it. I'm sure it won't be anything too crazy, but I was actually just curious. Would you plan on buying something like that and replaying those games?
I don't know. I thought I would be. My wife got me. I want to say it was Arkham City, the one that they re-released it on Wii U.
Oh yeah.
And you had different controls because you could use the Wii U pad, and it was you kind of used it as his utility belt.
Yeah.
And I probably maybe got through half of that game before I quit. So I'd like to say that I would, but chances are I'd probably get, not necessarily bored because those games are great. I'd probably get, something else would come out before I finished it.
I think I'd play it, but I don't see myself going back through and doing like all the Riddler trophies again and stuff. But I think it'd be able to hold my attention to get through the main story another time or two.
Okay.
Speaking of Xbox 360 has ended production this week.
Yeah, I saw that. I was actually not surprised that, I was surprised, but not because they ended, but that they were still doing it.
I don't know. I wanted to mention it, kind of like the ceremonial pouring out one's cup for a fallen.
Not in my house. Don't pour any you drink out.
for a fallen friend. Obviously, a lot of good times on the Xbox 360, but like you said, it's like, why were they still making those? Why were people still buying those? I'm not sure. Just shell out the extra $100, $200, and get the current gen system, for Christ's sake.
Yeah.
Let's see. And then this one is just for you, buddy. TMNT Dice Masters will be coming out in May.
Yeah, I have never played HeroClix.
Yeah,
looks cool. Never played it, but I was actually at the comic book shop this Wednesday, and I saw they had it on display. I was like, I had it in my hand. I was like, Chrissy will fucking kill me. Like, I literally will never take it out of the package, though.
Yeah, I don't. So my buddy Mike bought HeroClix when we were into Dice Masters and wanted to try it out, and I honestly thought it was just not fun at all. Like,
really?
I take Dice Masters every time over HeroClix. I just don't get it. I'm not I like board games, but not like other nerds. And that's not disparaging at all.
No.
It wasn't supposed to be.
To each his own, yeah.
Yeah, but HeroClix was just complicated and not fun, and
well, so is Dice Masters.
Yeah, but Dice Masters is, I don't know, there's something fun about it, and there's fun rolling the dice and strategizing, and I just didn't
building
feel like,
your team.
Yeah, I didn't feel like it was there in HeroClix.
Yeah, I would literally buy that just to sit on my shelf.
Yeah, I mean, I buy tons of shit to just sit on my shelf, so I mean, I'm actually disappointed you didn't buy it. I think you should go buy it. I'm going to be the devil on your shoulder telling you to just go get it. How much was it, if you don't mind me asking?
I don't remember, honestly.
Then you must not have been that interested in it.
I had it in my hand and I was walking towards the counter, and then I decided, the guy kind of actually gave me a little bit of a grin because I kind of like turned around and like set it back down. And then I walked to the counter. So he kind of gave me a little bit of a grin.
You know, I love Comic Quest. I was in there yesterday, though, and they are very unorganized right now.
I know. It's taking them way, way too long to renovate. Like, it seems like they're always doing something in there, and I kind of like their new setup. Not that this is interesting at all to any of our listeners that don't live in Evansville, but I thought that their new setup was the way to go. They're just taking fucking forever to get it done, and it's so cramped in there.
Well, Brittany and I went to Indy last week, and there's a comic book store like right near the Circle Center called Downtown Comics, and we went in there just to mess around. Brittany ended up buying League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, like the big Alan Moore pack,
cool,
which was pretty cool. Like, it made me very happy that she bought a comic. But I bought Batman 4 and Batman 8. Or no, 5 and 9, something like that. Some weird combination. Because I want to go back through and collect issues 1 through 12 of the New 52 Batman run, since that's such an important comic run to me. And that's the 12 issues I'm missing. Of course, they're going to be the most expensive ones.
Yeah, of course.
And they were like, well, we got this one, and this one. Where are you from? And I'm going to go, Evansville. He's like, oh, Comic Quest, right? Do they not get these down there? I'm like, I don't know. I've never actually looked. So I tried to look for them yesterday through all their long boxes, and it's just a jumbled mess. And
it's not great.
Yeah. And that was a long tirade about something that I'll probably cut out. So that is all I have for nerd news.
All right, man. So moving right along, where our next segment is just plainly called our main topic. It changes from episode to episode. Tyler and I talked about this when it first premiered, but we're going to give a full-on review of 11/22/63. Like I said, I believe it was Tyler that brought it up when it first premiered for what he was into that week. It's based on a very, very long Stephen King novel that I have read. It's a fantastic novel, but as most Stephen King novels are, it gets kind of convoluted towards the middle, and he throws in a lot of stuff that kind of ties his other books into it. Our review, like always, is going to be spoiler free as best as we can. I think there's a little bit towards the end, especially the last episode, that I'd like to talk about, and we'll just give a fair warning that we're going to get into spoiler territory with that. But as always, we'll try to keep it as spoiler-free as possible, and we always start off with our general overview of what we felt about the topic, and we call it broad strokes. So broad strokes, Tyler, what do you feel about 11/22/63?
I love the idea behind this miniseries. I love that Hulu took a long Stephen King story and didn't stretch it out too much and didn't try to force it into a movie. They took it, they made it a mini series of 8 episodes, and it really plays well to the main hits, I'm assuming, from the novel. So I really like that this thing exists, and I hope that they do that with other Stephen King work, because there's a lot of stuff that he's done that hasn't been touched on that I think deserves something like this. Definitely a cool concept for a story. I didn't know anything about it. I remember when the book came out. I've never read the book, unlike you. I think that it's a pretty cool concept, going back in time to stop the assassination of JFK. And I like the time travel in this book as well. But as far as the miniseries go, it's a little hit and miss. I felt my interest in it lagged a little bit towards the middle and towards the later part of it. Overall, it's pretty solid, but there were some episodes that I wouldn't say were a chore to get through, but I wasn't like rushing home to Hulu on Monday nights to watch the next episode towards the end of it.
Yeah, I can see that. I completely agree with you. I liked the fact that it was a miniseries, and it wasn't just, okay, this is going to be a TV series. Like they said, okay, it's going to be 8 parts, and that's going to be it. I think there was a well-defined beginning and an end to this miniseries, and I liked that it was supposed to first be a movie, and I don't see, now that we've watched the miniseries, I can't imagine how they would get all of these bullet points into a movie and it not be like 6 hours long.
Oh, for sure.
They cut out a lot of Stephen King's stuff, of the actual novel. And of course they changed some stuff here and there, and we'll get into that when we talk about the story aspect of the show. But yeah, I agree completely. Like, I like the fact that this was a miniseries, and I think it worked really well in that format. Like I've discussed in the past, actually probably too much, I don't like time travel. I really don't like it. I just don't think it's interesting. I think it's a really convoluted concept, and a lot of movies spend way too much time, or TV shows in this case, spend way too much time explaining and over-explaining and re-explaining how the time travel works. And it takes me out of the show or the movie. I really thought that this show did a great job of just really keeping it simple. They explained it really quickly. Like, you go back to this particular point, don't know why, don't know how, but you just do. And if you go back through and go back through again, you reset everything. So it makes sense. It's very simple, straightforward rules. It doesn't take you out of the story because it does it so quickly. It's like ripping off a Band-Aid. They just do it and it's over with, and they never really kind of re-explain it. So I appreciated that. Of course, there's some exposition with Chris Cooper's character, but they kind of splice it in throughout the show and throughout multiple episodes. So it wasn't like they just hit you with it all at one time. So I liked that. Some of the side stories dragged, and I think that's some of what you were talking about with the middle episodes. There's some stuff in the book that I wasn't crazy about. He spends a lot of time in Jody in the book, and that was some of the episodes that I wasn't crazy about. And I think you get that with a lot of Stephen King books, at least the books that I have read. He does a great job of developing characters, but I think he almost overdevelops them and sometimes and forgets about the actual plot of the book or of the movie or TV show in this case. So yeah, I think ultimately, and I guess we'll touch on this when we get to our star ratings, but I think ultimately, just from your broad strokes, I think that I enjoyed it a little bit more than you did.
Yeah.
But I'm also coming from a place where I've read the book, and of course, like you said, you didn't. So let's go ahead and just dive right into the story.
Yeah, I wish I had more to say about the story than I do, because I don't really have anything to compare it to. without having read the book. Like I was in love with this series probably the first 3 episodes. I really like what you were saying. Like, you establish the rules of this time travel. It's simple, and he has a clear mission. And then once he gets there, I love the wrenches that are thrown in his way. And I love that his first priority, there's some other stuff to go along with it, but he wants to save the family of this man that he knows in present day that ends up getting killed in the time period he's back there. Like, I like that little side mission that he had. And that kind of stuff really kept me intrigued. But then once you get to Texas and him and his companion Bill are trying to track Lee Harvey Oswald, and he's fallen in love with Sadie, that's the part for me where it just lags a little bit. There's too much time spent on that, where I would have even liked to see more with him and Sadie. There's a lot of him and Sadie, but the stuff with Lee Harvey Oswald just like put me to sleep for some reason. I don't know if it's maybe just because I'm not a history buff like you, or what, but that part of the time travel just wasn't interesting to me. The other thing I would say about the story is, especially towards the end, a lot of things happen really conveniently. One thing in particular that was stuck out to me so bad that I wrote it down so I could read it back on the podcast was there's a point where what's James Franco's character? I just forgot for some reason.
Well, his character is
Jake right?
Epping or Jake Amerson.
Okay, so Jake. Yeah. Jake and Sadie are running around trying to find a car that's unlocked. And they find one, and she goes, "My dad keeps the keys behind the visor. Check there." And of course the keys aren't there, but he says, "I'm gonna hotwire it. Bill taught me how." And we're just supposed to believe that at some point before he came back to the 1960s, a dying character taught him how to hotwire a car. So little convenient things like that.
I thought that he meant Bill is in the guy with him. Either way, it's super convenient.
Well, Chris Cooper, I got that confused.
Chris Cooper's name is Al.
Is not Bill. For some reason, I thought that he was the one.
I sound like super smart. No. I literally have the IMDb.
Yeah, you're right. I apologize, but still, it's still convenient that somebody taught him how to hotwire, and that's how you're going to get into a car. Like, that just didn't seem necessary to me. So, all in all, I enjoyed it, but like I said, it's just that middle, like, I would say episodes 4, 5, no, not that much. Maybe 5, 6, 7 are a little dry to me. But for the most part, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, so a little side note, and it just reminded me when you went, we were talking about hot wiring the car. The last episode, and I'll get into my thoughts on the story here in a second. I work with a lot of truck drivers. That's my main job. And one company that we work with a lot is the Hub Group.
Yeah.
They drop a lot of rail containers. And I was watching the show, and then the last episode, they're running to the book depository, and there's train tracks that are right next to that building, which that's how it actually is. I'm sure they shot it at least somewhat close. I don't know exactly where they shot it. They may have actually shot it on that street. And a train goes by, and it has a Hub Group container on it. I was like, oh yeah, that's cool. I work with those guys. And then just out of curiosity, I looked it up. That wasn't founded until like the 70s. So I just thought that was funny. But anyways, story-wise, I really enjoyed how they cut out a lot of the fat from the novel. Like I've said many times on this episode, and I've talked about it in the past, there's a lot of fat in Stephen King's books. Some of it's good stuff, some of it not so much. There's a lot of, well, I wouldn't necessarily say a lot of, but there's some crossover with it. The people that he saves, kind of his kind of trial run mission that you talked about earlier, actually happens in Derry, where the events of it happen. Mm-hmm. And so when Jake goes there, like, people are really weary of strangers, especially around little kids. And so they kept talking about, like, the events, like, they don't say what happens, but they always just kind of mysteriously talk about it. And so I appreciated that they cut some of that stuff out, because that doesn't need to be. Yeah. Like, it would feel really strange in this show if they had that.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that they changed some stuff. They changed some stuff with Bill. He helps Jake out in the book somewhat, but actually, it's funny because if I remember correctly, it's been years since I've read the book. I read it like pretty much as soon as it came out. Bill, he saves Bill, and then Bill dies, and then Jake goes back to the present and comes back. And so he just resets it. And then I don't think we ever find out what actually happens to Bill.
Yeah.
So the fact that he's just helping him track Lee Harvey Oswald in the show, I don't know. It just didn't sit right with me. They made his character a much bigger character in the show versus the novel. And I think his character, even though I wasn't crazy about you not knowing what happens to him, I liked that his character, it's not his story.
Yeah.
And I felt like they spent way too much time on Jake and Bill's relationship. And I didn't feel it because it just, I don't know. It's just not that way in the book. It's Jake's story and it's Sadie's story. And that's it. And I don't like that they made him such a bigger character, but I like how they, like you said, the story's kind of like the bullet points of the book. I like, there's a point where Chris Cooper's character is describing how the past always kind of fights back, and that he went to save this girl that gets shot or something. I don't remember the exact scenario. And it's just like a really quick story that he tells Jake. In the book, that's a much longer story, and it's like an entire chapter in the book, but yet it's only like 30 seconds to a minute in the show. So I liked how they kind of had some Easter eggs here and there, and they kept a lot of obviously the big stuff, but they also threw in nuggets like that for the people that have read the book. So I definitely appreciated that. They made some changes, like I said, but I think they kept the core of the story there. And I think some of the changes that they made were really great.
All right. Awesome.
All right. So performances, moving right along.
I didn't have too much for performances. I think that James Franco is like the definition of a serviceable actor. I don't think that he's that great in most things, especially in more serious roles. So, I mean, he's serviceable. He's not bad. He's not good. He's just kind of there in this series. Chris Cooper is always good. I really enjoy him. So he's not in this show a lot, but when he is in it, I very much enjoyed him. The girl who plays Sadie, her name's Sarah Gadon. She's really good, I thought. The one complaint I guess I would have with the cast is the actor Daniel Weber, who plays Lee Harvey Oswald. I did not think he was very good.
Oh, really?
I think
I kind of liked the accent, the kind of the
I didn't
weaselly, kind of nasally type of voice that he does.
I didn't mind the accent so much. It was just his performance was just a little too much for me.
Okay.
It was a little too colorful. I don't know. It's not how I picture Lee Harvey Oswald, and I don't know. It didn't sit right. I didn't think that he played it very well. But besides that, no real complaints.
I liked Chris Cooper in this.
Yeah.
Obviously, he plays a pretty small role, but it's an important role, and I think he did it really well. I think that I somewhat agree, but about what you said with James Franco, but I think I'll go a little bit stronger than you. I think that when he has great material, he kind of rises to the occasion, but then unfortunately, he goes with the material, the level of the material.
Yeah.
There's definitely some peaks and valleys with his performances. So I think he definitely rises. This isn't the best material. I think it's a solid show, but like we said, it kind of drags a little bit in the middle. But I think his performance is definitely one of the better ones I've seen in a long time. Probably since Rise of the Planet of the Apes, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed the show, and obviously I love that movie. So I think he's definitely an actor that rises to the occasion. I liked Sadie. I'm not sure of the actor's name. I've clicked out of the IMDb.
Sarah Gadon?
Yeah, I thought she was good. I didn't like, however, and this is more to the story than it really is the performances, but it just reminded me, in the book, when she gets injured, they make a huge deal out of it. Like, she's really disfigured. In the show, they kind of, they play it up like she's really disfigured, but, I mean, she just has a cut on her face. I mean, it's a deep cut, and I mean, she has stitches and everything, but it's not that bad. Like, she's still, like, a ridiculously gorgeous woman.
Oh, yeah.
But yet they treat her like she's a fucking monster. So I just thought that was kind of irritating, because she's obviously still beautiful. And then there's one scene where she's complaining about her scar, but she has her like hair like styled in a way that you can't even fucking see it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you could just do that and no one would ever know because nobody can see it. So, yeah, I mean, I thought she was good. I really like James Franco in this show, though. I think he's one of those actors that just kind of rises and unfortunately falls with the material as well.
For sure.
All right. So normally when we do TV reviews, we'll talk about a couple of notable episodes. I don't know what episodes you had prepared, if any, Tyler.
Yeah, I picked one episode. You want me to
cool.
go ahead with it?
Yeah,
so
for sure.
I mentioned that the beginning of the season is what I really enjoyed the most about this show, like when I was really digging it. And I think my favorite episode is probably the kill floor.
Yeah, that's a good one.
It's episode 2. It's whenever Jake decides that this mission isn't for him. He's going to go back to Maine, but on his way to Maine, he wants to, like I was talking about earlier, stop in Kentucky and stop this man from murdering basically his entire family.
Yeah.
It's a guy that he's tutoring for his GED in present day, and he has brain damage from this attack from his father in the 60s. So he's going to stop that. So maybe to make his life more normal and improve his livelihood. So I just thought that was really noble. I thought that was a really cool storyline. Josh Duhamel's in it. And I mean, not that means anything. Yeah. Like he's not a good actor or anything, but you know,
I think he was serviceable.
Yeah. There was Jake befriends him a little bit, just to kind of get in with him. I don't know. Actually, I don't know if you call it befriending. It's kind of like a weird relationship that they have throughout the episode. Yeah, a frenemy. Before Jake ends up acting on the night where he's supposed to kill his family.
Yeah.
And there's also a cool cliffhanger at the end of it that kind of leads into the Lee Harvey Oswald stuff and the rest of the series. So I thought it was a pretty cool transition episode. And then it also has Jake playing like the superhero and stopping this guy from murdering his family. So I thought that was a pretty good episode.
Yeah, that's a good one. I like that episode quite a lot. The series starts off really strong. I like the first episode. I think it establishes, like I said, the time travel really well. And then the second episode, it just kind of builds off of that. Unfortunately, shortly after I think the third episode is where you get into the Dallas stuff and the Jody stuff, and it kind of drags a little bit after that episode. So I definitely agree with you. The 2 episodes, well, I have the kill floor as well, but an episode that I enjoyed later in the season is Soldier Boy, which don't do it. Don't you fucking do it. I saw the look on your face of, don't you motherfucker. Anyways.
You know me too well.
Yeah.
My eyes lit up, didn't they?
It's unfortunate because I thought about doing the exact same joke. Anyways, I really enjoyed this episode because it finally kind of got back to the mission at hand. Because spoiler alert, he gets rid of Bill, and he's focused on what the mission at hand. Because he kind of loses his way a little bit, with Jody and with Sadie and whatnot and her troubles and her past. And so I appreciated that they finally got back to the mission at hand, and you got to see it started to kind of rev up a little bit, because I was getting kind of curious when they were going to start getting to the actual assassination, because it's only an 8-part miniseries and we're to episode 6, 5, and 6.
Yeah.
And not a whole lot's happened as far as that's concerned. So I was kind of happy to see them kind of return to the mission at hand.
Yeah. Awesome, man.
All right. So again, like I said earlier, I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about the ending and what we felt about the ending. So if you haven't watched it and you're planning on watching it, spoilers. We're going to talk about spoilers. So spoilers, triple spoilers. What'd you feel about the ending, Tyler? Do you feel like it kind of wrapped up nicely?
I think, I don't know. I hadn't really dwelled on it too much. I thought that a lot of cool stuff happens in that last episode. I like whenever he finally gets back to present day and it's a wreck because of JFK surviving and he decides to go back. But now kind of looking back on it, now that you're kind of probing me about it. This show is kind of all for nothing, right? So he didn't end up actually doing anything now that I think about it.
Well, he helped Sadie.
Yeah. But then he just reset everything. And I don't know. I guess it's more about him meeting Sadie than anything.
Yeah.
I kind of like the very end of it, like him, well, again, spoilers, you've already warned, but, meeting her as an old woman and dancing with her or whatever. Like, I thought that was kind of sweet, but.
For sure.
But, I mean, looking back on it, it's 8 episodes for him to erase everything that he worked for. But, I don't know. I guess
ultimately, it's not about the mission.
It's about the journey, not the destination.
For sure. I don't know why you had to. That was kind of what I was going to say. I just wasn't going to make it weird. No, it's different than the book. I appreciate that. I made mention that I thought that the kind of intro spoiled a little bit, because in the book, what I meant by that is the book, every time you go back, it doesn't reset. You actually just start a brand new timeline.
Yeah.
And so they got completely away from that. They focus a lot more on the man with the yellow card, and there's a man with a green card, and other, like, in the book, it's a lot more convoluted. So I appreciated that it was a lot simpler.
I read the cliff notes of the book as soon as I finished the show, because I wanted to know where it differentiated, and that part completely lost me when
it's
Wikipedia.
Very, very convoluted and very confusing. Like, the man with the yellow card is like an alcoholic, and that's why his card changed colors, and
he's like the guardian of the gate.
Yeah,
or
something like that.
I don't know.
It's really weird, and I appreciate it. It basically ends the same way, because when Jake succeeds in his mission and he goes back, all of this has changed. Like, it's basically the same thing, except for King focuses on the man with the yellow card and the green card and all this other stuff. I liked that it was it basically took that same concept that by stopping Lee Harvey Oswald, you've made things worse. The butterfly effect.
Yeah.
As they say. So I appreciated that and that's kind of how I feel about the show in general, is that they took the bullet points and they just kind of cut away the fat and kind of just made it a little bit more simple.
Yeah.
And so I appreciate that about the ending, is that it doesn't reset, and there's not all these crazy timelines, and there's not, even though the man with the yellow card's in it, and he definitely plays a bigger role towards the end, and he kind of forces Jake to think about what he's doing and stuff like that. I just liked how they just didn't focus on that as much at the end, and so I definitely appreciate that. I liked that they got to read the book, obviously, and got to kind of simplify it and fine tune it, and so I definitely appreciated that.
All right, awesome.
All right, so star rating, how'd you feel about 11/22/63?
Oh, 3.5.
Okay, cool. So, I mean, we're exactly the same.
Okay.
If it wasn't for those couple of middle episodes here and there, I probably would have gone with 4, because I thought it was really well done. Like I said, it takes all the good stuff of the book and kind of makes it a little bit more simple, and the time travel is done really well.
Yeah.
So I wanted to like it more, because I really enjoy the book, even though I've been basically trashing it for the last half an hour. But I did thoroughly enjoy the book. I am a big history nerd. So I wanted to like it a little bit more, but like I said, the middle part kind of drags.
All right, man.
All right, so our last segment is just called Nerd Favorite. Tyler and I take turns capping off each episode by asking each other a very nerdy question. It's usually, what's your favorite blank? It's Tyler's week this week, so what's nerd favorite?
Gonna keep it super simple and super obvious. I'm gonna ask what your favorite James Franco performance is.
All right.
So I'll go first, give you a second to think. Mine,
I don't really need a whole lot of time.
I kind of figured. Mine is going to be This Is the End. I think that might be one of my favorite comedies of all time. And
really?
Yeah.
I like that movie, but I wouldn't go that strong.
Like if I did like a top 5, maybe it'd be in their top 10, definitely. I just think that it's hilarious. I go back and watch it every year. I mean, it's only been out for a few years, but since it's been out, I've watched it a couple times a year, and I laugh every time. They just really hit the nail on the head with that one, and James Franco is part of, obviously, a big ensemble cast. It's very hilarious, and he holds his own, and is super funny in it, and so I will go with that film.
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoy that movie. I like how meta it is, and it's just the demon aspect of that movie is just so fucking weird, man.
Yeah.
Every time I see that, I just roll my eyes. Like they kind of jump the shark a little bit.
Where
Jonah Hill gets raped by the demon.
Okay, that's why I thought you were going with it, but I wanted to make sure.
No, I don't know. It gets too weird.
Okay, man. What's your favorite?
Well, if you know me personally, or if you've listened to some of our episodes, you should know that my favorite James Franco movie is Rise of the Planet of the Apes. I'm a huge fanboy of this franchise, and I was super nervous when I heard that they were kind of rebooting the franchise. And I wasn't a huge fan of James Franco at the time, so I was a little bit nervous about his casting, but all those fears were kind of laid to rest with this movie. It's a fantastic movie. It pays homage to the original franchise. Obviously, the main ape is named Caesar, who is a character in the original franchise, and it's phenomenal. The motion capture is great. Andy Serkis does an amazing job as Caesar. I have a puppy named Caesar, not from the Roman, from this movie, from this franchise. So I just love this movie so much, and obviously it builds so well to Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, which is my favorite movie of all time.
Yeah, I saw this movie with you, and if I had to describe the movie-going experience, I would call it the rise of the front of Pat's pants.
Well done. As soon as you started talking about it, I was like, he's going to make a boner joke. But I appreciated the boner joke.
No, I mean, that is a really great movie, and he's pretty good in it, so. Yeah,
like I said, he kind of definitely rises to the occasion. And I just realized you could just make another boner joke. All right. With that, I think that'll be the end of this episode 91 of the Nerds You're Looking For podcast. As always, you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram. It's both at the Nerds Podcast. Like us on Facebook. Follow us on Google+. Vote for us for a podcast of the month at podcastland.com. Comment and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Check out our new Twitch channel. Rate, review us on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, basically any podcatcher you use, we're on it. You can also email us at thenerdsyou'relooking4@gmail.com. For Patrick Coon,
Tyler Hunt,
we are the Nerds You're Looking For. Take it easy, guys.
See you.